What is the future of America? My name is Richard Boyd, and I would like to share my thoughts on why I believe the recent Supreme Court rulings are not only correct, but they also restore the rule of law. Over the past 2 weeks, we have seen several rulings by the Supreme Court, three of which I would like to say a few words about. The first two are very interesting because the left caused them to happen. If they had not gone after former President Trump in trying to keep him off the ballot, the trials would not have taken place and there would be no trial activities to appeal. We all wish the left could run on their own record and not turn to warfare in order to try and beat the former president. But then again, we can only thank them for these Supreme Court rulings. The rulings I am referring to come from the Fisher versus United States and Trump versus United States. In the Fisher ruling, the court further defined the requirements and proper use of the felony charge of obstructing an official proceeding established in the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. This act was the basis of all charges in the January 6th incident. Not only did this ruling throw out the charges against Fisher, but the ruling could also affect charges against more than 300 other January 6 defendants. The same law is also at the center of two of the four charges brought against former President Trump in the Washington, D.C. case. In Trump versus United States, the Supreme Court ruled that any president has immunity from criminal prosecution for all official acts, not personal acts. Most Americans have been waiting months to hear this ruling, and because the left didn't get the ruling they wanted, Democrats, as expected, are blaming the decision on the conservative justices on the court. They believe this decision is only about Trump in the 2024 election. Their anger is so bad, AOC wants to start impeachment proceedings against the justices. Other Democrats want to again pack the court, while still other Democrats want a constitutional amendment to overturn the decision. On top of these reactions, you have all fear-mongering coming from the left-wing media. This reaction from the left continues to demonstrate not only the hatred they have for anyone that disagrees with them, but also their goal of power at any cost. The third ruling, Luper Bright Enterprises versus Secretary of Congress, may be the one that breaks the camel's back. The court overruled what is known as the Chevron Doctrine, a legal theory established in the 1980s that says if federal regulation is challenged, the court should defer to the agency's interpretation of whether Congress had granted it authority to issue the rule, as long as the agency's interpretation is reasonable and Congress has not addressed the question directly. This ruling could affect hundreds of regulations created by the EPA, Department of Energy, and every other department of the United States government. What first comes to mind are the regulations dealing with light bulbs, electric appliances, and green energy. What the left fails to see when it comes to Trump versus United States is the protection it gives to all future presidents, including President Biden. Without this ruling, who would want to run for the office of president, fearing every official act could land them in court and the possibility of spending the rest of their life in prison? This would lead to bad or no decisions, putting this country in a path to be overrun by our geopolitical enemies. We must not only elect Donald J. Trump as our next president, but we must also elect real conservatives to Congress. We cannot afford to have a liberal federal judicial court system or a liberal Supreme Court. All our court decisions must be based on the Constitution and the law of the land. Thank you for watching or listening, and please subscribe to my podcast and share this with your friends. May God bless you, your family, and the United States of America.